You make a bunch of noise out here, so they have peace and quiet in here. Because there's no better sound than the squeak-free guarantee from Advantech Subflooring and Advantech Subfloor Adhesive.
I'm Jake Bruton, and welcome back to the UnBuild It podcast. And today I am still joined by Peter Yost and Steve Basic.
He says
I thought maybe I was going to get replaced. I'm really excited to be here.
I take umbrage
Somebody,
to the fact that
you can't say that word except with you got to
umbrage.
Yeah,
this is what happens when Steve gets a word of the day calendar for Christmas.
He makes it sound like, you know, we're here because of him.
This is not the first episode we've recorded today.
You got to remember, he was the instigator for the UnBuild It podcast. We kind of are here because of him, much as I hate to say that.
Okay,
what are we going to be talking about?
Now I hate you too. Go ahead.
Today's topic is permanent wood foundations. If you are a longtime listener to the podcast, you know that we've talked about permanent wood foundations before. There is another word for it. I forget what the other terminology for it is.
PWF.
PWF is the abbreviation, but there's another industry term.
It's an old archaic term, Peter.
I don't know what the other
houses is what Peter calls it. Mima and Pup Pop's house.
Wood in the ground house.
Hey, I have a project on the seacoast of Massachusetts. It's a 250-year-old building, and he has round logs that are placed into the dirt, and the only ones that are rotten are at the perimeter, and it's just mind-blowing. But it's dry enough underneath that the wood can be in contact, and the grain is so tight on these big-ass old trees.
Yeah, it was some of the best wood ever.
It's hard to imagine, but they are not rotten. That's a permanent wood foundation.
Yeah,
different.
So is this the story of Johnny Ron? Obviously, you don't know the musical reference.
I clearly don't.
Whatever.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
Okay, so we actually have a couple questions that are kind of almost in response to that previous.
Can I ask a question before then?
Yes, you can.
The number of buildings that use permanent wood foundations is incredibly low, but I think people are fascinated by the idea of something as an alternative to a concrete foundation.
Also, when we published that podcast, we got a ton of, I live in a permanent wood foundation that's 25, 40 years old and dry.
Yeah.
So everybody that was like, this is dumb, you shouldn't do this. At about the same time, Steve and I did a building together that in Columbia that the internet thought was a ridiculous idea, even though it's code approved. And all of the emails we got were like, I live in one and it's fine. It's the most stable house it was great. So,
well, I think, to comment on that, I think there's a lot to be said that when you do something different, your focus is forced to be enhanced, right? So, like, you put a concrete foundation in, you sit there and say, oh, it's bulletproof. You don't really care about water management as much. You do a permanent wood foundation, now all of your, thinking is heightened.
Interesting.
To the point where, like, we have to be sure of this. We have to make sure this detail is right. We have to make sure this is executed properly. And I think that's probably part of the success.
It's the only dry basement I ever grew up in.
Yeah.
And my dad built the other ones.
How many times did you grow up? I'm serious because you're still not a grown up yet.
Not
yet. Okay, so this first question comes from Cody. I live in a PWF split level house. I want to, which is a raised ranch for you New Englanders. I want to improve the waterproofing of the foundation. Currently, there is just polyethylene and a sand for backfill, which I've not heard of. I think that actually violates the PWF standard, by the way. I would like to replace the polyethylene with a dimple mat and add rock wool on the outside to help wick water away. can I excavate the sand backfill on one side of the house without the backfill on the opposite side pushing the house over? Could I remove all of the backfill around the entire house without any problems? So I'm going to say we need to assume that the PWF standards outside of the sand thing have been followed, and it does have a concrete foundation, a concrete slab inside that's holding the bottom of the foundation in place, the foundation walls in place, and that it has floor joists that are holding the top of the foundation walls in place.
So I think what you're saying is that if you take the supporting fill on one side of the house, but everything is trapped into a system because of the concrete slab and the floor joists, that you're okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
So I would assume,
Steve, that makes sense, right?
Yeah, but I'm thinking, I mean, it's probably pretty short money to say excavate down 4 feet, put some bracing in,
yeah.
and then finish the excavation. Right?
Also, if the PWF standards were followed, I think he can only be buried about 6 feet. So it's not that deep into the ground.
I mean, I don't think there's anything about the house. Like the ground on the other side, it's leaning against it, but it's not pushing on the house,
Yeah.
right? It's just leaning
It's
up
pushing
against
on
it.
that wall, but it's not.
And the house is working like a retaining, that wall is working like a retaining wall.
Yeah. Yeah.
And 6 feet, there's really not a whole lot of pressure against it. But again, it's short money. Go down 3 feet, put in some bracing. Bracing could be on like 8-foot centers, just something.
Yeah.
Or do the whole thing at once. You're doing the whole house.
Or
what does it matter?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's going to be way easier to do all of the
Excavate the whole
excavation,
house.
move the piece of equipment away, do all of the dimple mat, tie it all in together, do all of your, like, to do each step fully at once. If you have, you know, I'm assuming my market where I have space to work around the building, where I have, you know, equipment, like all those things. Obviously, if he doesn't have the space to pile the dirt, if he doesn't have, there's some other challenges there. But if you're worried, go down 2 feet all the way around the building, go down another 2 feet, you know, work your way down, and then you don't have that concern. That's how the building would have been backfilled. The building stood when it didn't have anything around it to begin with. You know, there's a lot of simple to it there. Let's talk about what he's thinking about doing, though. He's talking about adding a dimple mat and rock wool. He says, and add rock wool to help wick the water away. I'm assuming he meant the dimple mat to help wick the water away and rock wool to help insulate. It doesn't have any of that now. I'm assuming he doesn't have any water issues because he doesn't say he has water issues.
And he doesn't say, I mean, I'm assuming putting in a dimple mat, he's putting in some kind of pump or some pumper or some type of system.
Daylight drain or...
Yeah, because you don't want to put a dimple mat in and give water no place to go.
So that standard, as it was built, if it were built to the standard, is tar, or I guess it's just tar at the time that it was built, and then 6 mil poly pushed into that tar and then backfill. That was what the PWF standard used to be, at least. I wouldn't bother removing the polyethylene. It's going to be impossible to get off, basically. Yeah. I would just add dimple mat to it and make repairs to the polyethylene and then add the dimple mat and then rock wool if you want to add the rock wool after that.
So what's the detail up at grade if you have, you know, the existing foundation, a dimple mat, and then the rigid? I'm assuming the rigid goes up and along with the dimple mat to the top of the above grade section.
It probably stops short a couple inches. And then you have a termination bar at the dimple mat or some kind of taped cover or something flash there.
And then how would you, if you have an existing plane of the wall, now you've blown it out, the thickness
That's what
of
I'm
the
saying.
dimple
You
mat.
stop about 2 or 3 inches.
Oh, so you have some
and then
sort
you
of,
just push the dirt up against the foundation for the last 2-3 inches.
Okay.
But you know what really concerns me is like we never treat the exposed foundation wall above grade. We really worry about it below.
Well, and frankly, he has a 2x8 wall.
No, I know. I'm
Like-
playing Peter.
Well, but he's got a 2x8 permanent wood foundation. What does that look like above grade? right? I mean, you probably have some sort of cover
Probably like-
metal.
Yeah, it's just,
Like
well,
wood.
it's probably got siding down to grade.
You
Some kind of cement board or something.
well,
AZEK,
yeah,
something-
it's got to be something that's
since-
not moisture sensitive for that portion
I
of
grew
the.
up in one that had masonite all the way down to the ground.
My word. I'm not questioning your basement was dry. I'm questioning what the condition of that
I'm not-
masonite
I-
was.
You know, one of these days we should do a podcast. Sorry, we should do a podcast on things we've seen that defy building science. Because I have a handful of them that I sit there and go,
Well, sorry,
"Man,
those
this
big
is the
logs
dumbest
laying in the
idea."
dirt for 250 years. That's one of them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But anyways,
Yeah.
another story.
I'm sorry, this guy was, because there's a portion of this building that's a crawl space that's, 2 or 3 inches high or nothing, and the logs are laying in the dirt. I told him, I said, you're going to have to open that up from the top and look at the condition of those. And he said, Peter, I'm sending you photographs. There are these huge logs, and if it's not near the perimeter of the building, they're doing just fine.
Yeah.
And I thought that was not the answer I expected.
Yeah.
So if if stuff is dry, it's going to be fine.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I mean, what's the motivation? Because this is
He doesn't give a motivation.
but this is not like some whimsical. Hey, let's go out Saturday morning and excavate the foundation and put a new dimple mat. Like this is.
Do you want to hear his follow-up question? Because the second pressure permanent wood foundation question we have is from Cody as well.
Okay.
Oh,
Okay. I dug down to see the wood foundation footing, and unfortunately, it's not protected from water. I plan to add sealant and polyurethane to the top of the wood footing and keep the existing polyethylene. So there's still drainage plane, but now it will drain into a new polyethylene instead of the wood footing. It will also prevent groundwater from being in contact with the footing. My question is, why are drainage tiles not permitted in permanent wood foundations? I am reading the Canadian Wood Council's book on permanent wood foundations, and it says that drainage tile is not permitted, though there are exceptions. Why is that? I've attached 2 images that you can talk about. So if you're listening, you're not going to see the images. We're not going to bother putting them up. The PFW guide just gives aggregate as the drainage area. I don't understand why they don't put in drain tile. My guess is that thing has not really been updated in the last 40 years, and that drain tile was not particularly popular in 1975 when they created that document. If you are familiar with the PFW guide, it has open top bobcats in it without roll cages. Like, it has not been updated in quite some time.
that research was done a long
Like-
time ago. Yeah.
So
Well, I wonder. So let me ask you a question that is somewhat related to that. You're planning on doing a building with a permanent wood foundation. You dig the hole. You come back tomorrow, and there's a foot of standing water in the bottom of the hole.
Yep.
Do you continue with your thinking on the permanent wood foundation, or do you alter your thinking somehow?
So I guess it might depend on whether that water is because of groundwater or it rained, 24
I think
hours
he's
straight.
implying
It's
groundwater.
groundwater.
It was a nice sunny day and a nice cool summer evening.
Yeah. Sorry. Yeah. If you've got groundwater table that you're dealing with, you need to build a boat hull.
Right.
Yeah.
So
Well, boats are made out of wood.
Not pressure treated sheathing and framing.
yeah, but I guess my point was that the drain tile probably doesn't matter because most people aren't putting the permanent wood foundations in a real challenging environment, right? That there's probably an assessment that, yeah, there's really not a whole lot of water there, that we shouldn't have a problem.
I
Let's
doubt
do
that,
it.
and I doubt that the code, when it talks about permanent wood foundations, makes conditional recommendations like, hey, if you see
doesn't.
groundwater, But part of that was the pressure treated wood footing.
Yeah.
There's no pressure treated wood footing.
The footing, quote unquote, is like a 2x12.
Yeah,
That's like
flat.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, they don't form up a box.
Right. So in a way, this is saying when you start with the wood foundation, you are assuming that the conditions exist, that is not wood that's going to float in water. That you've
That's
got
what I'm saying.
drain tile and you're dealing with bulk water.
Yeah. I don't see a reason why drain tile wouldn't be fine.
Does he say it's prohibited or it just doesn't mention?
So the Canadian standard explicitly says prohibited in 2 places. The American Wood Councils or the Southern, I think it's American Wood Council, just doesn't have it in there. Period.
What are the 2 conditions in the Canadian one?
I don't know.
Oh, okay.
I'm not Canadian. And the one I built was not in Canada.
Canada.
Well, I
It's
think
right next to Mrs.
So
Zippy.
the one that Steve and I did together has drain tile because I wanted that water to go away. And
your building inspector said, knock yourself out.
Our building inspector didn't give a hoot one way or the other. He was actually happy that it was there. We also had a walkout condition. And so even on that side,
we had daylight drain
Yeah.
capability, like almost immediate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And even on the walkout, we had a drop in front of the walkout. We went down 20 inches and put a drain tile there so that if we had any water stand in front of that walkout, it could get down and away there.
I'm really intrigued by the fact that you said you don't know if anything's been done in terms of this manual since 40 years ago. I know a guy at the Forest Products Lab who might know, like, did we update this and why in the original did they just say free draining gravel underneath the footing? So I made a note about that.
Yeah.
Cool. Forest Products Lab contact. It's going to go under the resources.
It's I mean, just Steve, do you see any reason why we wouldn't put drain tile in there?
No, I think we
Like,
should
there's
have
no
a
reason why evacuating the water quicker would cause a problem.
Yeah, I
right?
have no
The
understanding.
water's not going to cause our aggregate to shift by being away.
And even if you were doing it new construction, I would put a drain tile in at least. I mean, either on the outside to go to daylight, or I'd put it on the inside because the
sump?
footing is sitting on probably 10 inches of stone. So you put the footing on the sump pump on the inside and pump it out if you had to.
Yeah, I can't imagine how that condition would be anything other than an improvement to the original spec.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I also think it's great that somebody's doing something to maintain their foundation. And good on you. It's expensive to do foundation maintenance. So I have, and you guys didn't know I was going to read this one. A while back, we asked for pivotal moments in your career because we talked about pivotal moments in our career.
I do remember that.
We published that in Steve's trying to pivot. If you are just listening, I suggest you go and watch this one because that was
Watch the
hilarious.
basic pivot.
And when we asked for that, we got one. So we're going to read the one that we got. And it was from Carl Seville, a
This would be
friend
classic.
of all of ours.
The green curmudgeon.
Carl would probably be mad if he knew that we called him a friend. I often turn on the podcast at night when I can't sleep, hoping they will let me get back to sleep. Last night, I was listening to your August 15th, 2024 podcast, and unfortunately for me, unlike Steve, I did not fall asleep when I heard the whole thing. I liked your discussion about events that changed your careers and very much sympathized, except for Steve. I could never get my kids interested in what I do for a living. Since you ask, I will share things that changed my career for the better. Around 2000, I had a remodeling contract, a contracting business for about 20 years and was pretty frustrated with the business. I was tired of working for homeowners and dealing with employees and subcontractors. Here, Carl. I had learned bits and pieces about green building over the previous years and wanted to incorporate it into my work, but did not see a good path. About that time, South Face had created Earthcraft
Homes.
an early green building certification program for new homes. We didn't do new construction, so I went to them and convinced them to create a program for renovations. I also met Peter around that time, and we have remained friends ever since. I ended up sort of taking over the committee that was putting together things, and we were able to use several of our projects as pilots for the program. This got me re-engaged in the business. We got a lot of publicity and interest from magazines and different manufacturers who donated products to various projects because there were so few people doing green remodeling at the time. I suddenly became one of a few national experts on the subject. I will say that Carl did not put experts in quotes. Good for you, Carl. Regardless of how little I actually knew about it. I started getting asked to speak and write, and it was something that I found I enjoyed. I plugged along in the business for a few more years, doing the speaking and writing on the side, mostly for free, while I was trying to improve our projects and incorporate Earthcraft. Unfortunately, we were a bit ahead of the market and were not successful in making any significant change. I could no longer, in good conscience, continue to remodel the way we had been, and as my partner was not brought into the green remodeling, in 2005, I finally decided to leave the business. This led me to becoming a green building consultant, and not owning a construction business during the recession was an extra bonus. I've heard that story from Carl before.
2009, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
I continued to write and speak and built a house for some friends and did various other projects to keep afloat. Around 2010 or so, I got an opportunity to certify a new apartment building under the National Green Building Standard. I had not considered multifamily work as a path for me, but over a decade later, our company has 13 team members, and we certify apartments all over the country. I enjoy being construction adjacent and not having all the responsibilities of a contractor. I wish I had more control over the projects and enjoy when I do get to influence the design, but overall, I am in a much better place than when I was a contractor. Cheers, Carl. So if you know Carl, you can tell that email was written with restraint. And you know that Carl is one of the happiest people in our industry. I always think of him as Smiley because he always has a smile on his face. And it's apt that I read this now because we record these podcasts in big blocks. We break the fourth wall here. We don't get together every week and record this podcast. We do record in big chunks. We're recording this couple weeks after IBS 2025. Carl just happened to be standing in Huber's booth when it was time to play building science trivia, and I would like to thank Carl for playing building science trivia with Ben Bogey, Steve Basic, and myself, and I would like to remind Carl that he lost at building science trivia, even though he's been doing this way longer than I have. Peter, would you like to guess who won at building science trivia since I'm bringing it up?
Oh, I bet it was Jake Bruton.
Yes, it was. That means 3 out of the 4 years we've played, I've beat Steve.
Wow. I have no idea where you're going with all this.
I just wanted to get that in there
I'm
so
glad
that our
you know
listeners...
the weight of the blower door.
That was the way that we figured out that Peter had written the questions for Huber this year. As soon as the question, how much does a blower door weigh, I screamed out, Peter, the old man, wrote these questions because he's the only person I know that worries about how much a blower door... And then I got the question wrong. It's 35 instead of 45 pounds. So, if you want to share a pivotal moment, we did only get the one from Carl. We were happy that Carl shared it with us because I think everybody has one of those stories that changed the course of their career, that changed the way they view their career, or that made them become a dentist again instead of a builder.
I just wanted to say that I was working at the NHB Research Center in like 1995 or so, and we had an EPA grant to develop a guide to building green building programs.
Okay.
And the HBA of Atlanta is a very large HBA, and they had some cutting edge folks who really wanted to work with the research center. So I flew down from, Dulles National Airport once a month to Atlanta and spent a couple days with them working on how they were going to develop the green building program and use that to write the guide. But one of the funny things about that is that when we were developing the program for Atlanta, they had a consultant for marketing, and they were talking about, well, what are we going to call this program? Green building this or something. And the consultant said, well, there seems to be a lot of traffic, a lot of support for earthcraft. And I said, yeah, that's ridiculous. That sounds to me like witchcraft, and it sounds like it's going to marginalize the program.
No, witch is like witch. Earth is earth.
Well,
Doesn't really sound
What
like
you told
it.
me was, Peter, we appreciate your help with the development of the technical details, but you should just
not
keep your mouth shut
marketing.
when it comes to marketing. And of course, the Earthcraft program was wildly successful, expanded out of Georgia into other areas of the Southeast. But it's really curious that we went to a place where, Georgia's not known for being cutting edge green building
No.
center of the universe. So it was pretty challenging to go there. But if it hadn't been for Carl, there's no way that would have extended into, hey, we need one for remodeling. Because it's so much harder to develop programs for remodeling. So it was so cool to meet him because he really, he's making it seem as if he didn't accomplish much change, but he actually did. I mean, and if it wasn't for Carl, we wouldn't have had a green remodeling program guide to the whole thing.
What is Carl's company name?
It's the T-shirt I have. It's SMK or something, and it has to do.
Yeah. Shoot. Sorry, Carl.
It's Carl and his partner, and it's the collaborative.
Yeah. SK. Is it SK Collaborative?
It's his partner's name in there too.
Yeah.
Sorry. I can't remember.
Also, if you've read
Abe is the other half of his company.
Also, if you've read the Pretty Good House book that Taunton put out a couple years ago, the first case study is Carl's personal house.
You do have to understand that when Dan Morris and I were building the Green Building Advisor website and program, we went out and picked green building advisors from across the country. Steve was one. And when we invited Carl, he said, oh, yeah, but I want to be the green building curmudgeon, because he was so skeptical of all the green stuff. But he's kind of interesting because he is a very happy, content guy, but he's also pretty cynical at the same time.
Okay. On that note, if you have questions or comments or pivotal moments that you want to share.
I want to hear the pivotal moments, yeah.
Questions at unbuilditpodcast.com. That's where you reach us. Steve, do you have any closing thoughts?
I do. I have a pivotal moment in the making.
Can't wait.
No, I want to get you guys' opinion. So I'm a thinker. Sometimes I think outside the box. Sometimes I think outside of construction. My latest thought, imagine if coffins were glass instead of like wood or metal. All right? What do you guys think about that?
You'd be able to see into the future?
Well, I'm not really sure, but, the final decision remains to be seen.
I was trying to get there. I didn't.
I'm waiting for when I can anticipate what to play on words, and I don't think I'm ever going to do it. But thanks, Steve.
Hey, you're welcome. Anytime I can help.
That's all we have for you today.
I have more, but I'm saving it.
You're going to.
Well, it's
Please do.
The world's not.
Please
the
do.
world's not
Keep it to
ready
yourself
for
for
the
now.
tidal wave.
Till next time, have a good day.
Bye bye.